Back to talknorth.com. Thank you for listening. If you can, please download before you listen. It helps our business. I'd also like to thank our producer, Brandon Morton, and let you know if you'd like to sponsor this program or any of the programs on the network, you can reach me at jsouhan47@gmail.com. Well, John, after the Monday night game, I wrote about Kirk Cousins' struggles, which, of course, set off the Twitter fight, which is it Cousins' fault or is it the offensive line's fault? I think the proper answer is both. I just happen to pick on Kirk because I didn't like the way he played early in the game. But let's get your reaction after I introduce the show here. This is the Viking Update Show with John Krawczynski from The Athletic. I'm Jim Souhan from the Star Tribune. Our producer is Brandon Morton. Please follow us on Twitter at TalkNorthPod. That way you'll be able to keep up with some of the new shows we'll be producing. And we already have a new show on the Gophers that right now is highlighting basketball season, but we'll get to all the sports. That's with Marcus Fuller and Ryan James. And thank you to our sponsors, Twill in the Edina Galleria and Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent. So what was your main takeaway after watching the debacle on Monday night?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what I took away from it and what I wrote after the game was just that this is a team that after that performance like that you just can't trust going into the playoffs. You don't know what you're going to get. I think there is a scenario I could see unfolding where they put everything together. Maybe Dalvin Cook comes back and Kirk Cousins plays well and they win a game or two. I could see them getting blown out in the first round. They're just, we haven't seen them play very well against a really good team this entire season. I don't think Philadelphia or Dallas qualify like that. So going into the playoffs after this final tune-up against Chicago this weekend, I don't know what to expect. And I think getting to your point about who's to blame with the offense, is it Cousins? Is it the offensive line? I'm a catch-all guy. I think when things go as poorly as they did against Green Bay, you can blame everyone. You can blame Cousins for not being able to make a couple of big plays in tough situations, which primetime quarterbacks are supposed to be able to do. You can blame the offensive line that was completely overwhelmed by Zadarius Smith. I mean, Riley Reif was terrible. The entire unit just was not very good. You can blame the loss of Dalvin Cook for sure, not having that element. You can also blame the play calling. I think after so many consecutive weeks of everyone seeming to be in sync, I don't think that Kevin Stefanski and Gary Kubiak had a very good game plan, or it didn't seem like they had a good one going into this one. So I think that watching that performance was glaring, and it was bad enough that it does make you question what this team's abilities are going into the postseason when they will play a good team, unless some miracle were to happen and they get one of the NFC East teams in the first round, which doesn't look like is going to happen. They're going to have to beat a good team, and they haven't done that at all this year.
I'm in New Orleans on a mini vacation for the holidays, and you started thinking about a matchup between the Vikings and the Saints in New Orleans, and I just don't think the Vikings have what it takes. So first of all, Saints are really good. Second of all, the Saints have a distinct home field advantage and are playing well right now. But third, you could find a decent matchup. Maybe the Vikings actually might match up well with Philadelphia because Philadelphia has terrible receivers. But for this group of cornerbacks, do you have to try to cover Michael Thomas and all the other things that Sean Payton would throw at them? I don't think that would be a very fun game. But let's go back to Monday night briefly again. There's no doubt the offensive line played poorly and seemed to play more poorly the longer the game went on. I really feel like the problem started with Cousins. Now, obviously the quarterback doesn't control everything. He doesn't deserve all the blame. But I felt like they had field position. The defense was playing great. The defense was creating turnovers, and they had a chance to run away with that game and to set up a scenario where they could run the ball if they wanted to, and the Packers might have to just air it out, and that would benefit the Vikings defensive line. Instead, I thought the play of the game, third and goal. You just got a gift, from your defense. Your third and goal, and CJ Ham is wide open, left flat, and Cousins completely airmails him. Now, I think a good pass thrown on time there, and CJ Ham has a chance to bully the defensive back and get into the end zone and score a touchdown, and that might change everything that happened after. And I thought that the first couple drives, Cousins looked jittery, and he threw the ball because he was seeing ghosts. Later on, the pressure did get to him, but early on, I thought there were unforced errors, and I thought in a game at home against your primary rival, where you have a third-string running back in the backfield, and it's going to be on the quarterback to make plays, I thought his poor play was the first in the sequence that led to all the bad plays.
I do think that's fair, Jim, in the way that you look at it, and I think jittery is the right word, and sometimes the demeanor of your quarterback, of your leader, can trickle down to the rest of the offense, and maybe that did happen. I mean, you saw some happy feet. That throw that he airmailed to Ham, I mean, he threw it about 200 miles an hour too. So it was like, okay, he's really hopped up. He's really amped and excited. And I think that there was a bit of frenetic energy to him and really then to the offense in general because of that. If you have a quarterback who can display some calm, can just kind of present the idea to the rest of his teammates that, hey, I got this, we're going to be okay. That would have helped matters a lot. And, for what the defense was doing, turning over the Packers 3 times, picking off Aaron Rodgers for the first time since like the middle of October, and really making a ton of big plays when you can't cash in the way that with touchdowns, that is deflating. And I do think that also led to the defense in the second half getting worn down. Now, I've been a kind of one of those guys who has pointed out that in big games, this defense often does not show up. I don't think that was the case on Monday night. I think they came to play. I think you could not have asked for more from them in that first half. Yeah, they gave up some yardage, but man, they made some big plays. They got after it. They put their offense in good position, and time again, they weren't able to cash in. Cousins made one great throw, and that was to Diggs for the touchdown. That was a terrific throw and catch, and they just couldn't get anything else going. And I do think that just took the life out of everybody in the second half. Then you get Aaron Jones snapping off some big runs, and the defense just ran out of gas in this one. And I do think if Cousins was able to make a big throw into a tight window to cash in on one of those on another one of those turnovers for a touchdown, I think that just breathes life into the entire building, into the defense, and it could have gone to a blowout in the opposite direction. But they were never able to cash in. I think a lot of that is on Cousins. And I also there were plenty of times where I was scratching my head and wondering what exactly, are they trying to accomplish from a play calling standpoint as well? They just did not seem to have the right mix to keep the Packers defense off balance or to catch them in any kind of unexpected situations. They just never were able to do that. And they got bullied and kind of dominated by that group.
Absolutely. I want to talk about the running back position here next. Let's thank Twill in the Edina Galleria. The website is twillmn.com. Find them on Instagram, which is a great place to see all the clothes they have in their shop at Twill Edina. Check it out. They have sportswear, outerwear, tailored clothing, accessories. I've bought all that stuff there. I'm wearing some of it right now as I'm on my vacation. Stuff travels well. twillmn.com.
I'm here with my wife, Stacy. We went to Twill in the Edina Galleria the other day. We saw Scott Dayton, and I bought the nicest sport jacket I've ever owned, the most comfortable pants I've ever owned. They're Bracks. A nice pair of loafers that I can wear to the ballpark. I think they're called Tracks. And I bought a bunch of Stenstrom short sleeve shirts to go with my Stenstrom nice dress shirts. And, I used to wear just disposable clothes. Now when I buy something, I buy it at Twill. I know it's going to last me the rest of my life, and it's going to be comfortable.
And on top of that, it's not just the best stuff you've ever had, but it's really everyday things that you can wear and that will fit all occasions.
Twill in the Edina Galleria, twillmn.com, Twill on Instagram.
So I don't think Dalvin Cook should be as important as he is to this offense and this team, but he is. And Mike Boone is I think he's a pretty good player. He's fast. He runs really hard, but we saw the difference on Monday night. We saw that he can get arm tackled. Dalvin Cook does not get arm tackled. Dalvin Cook he's just a rare guy who has a combination of speed, agility, balance, strength, and man, they missed him.
They sure did miss him, Jim. And I mean, you hit on it exactly. With this offensive line and how they are at their best, they're an okay group that isn't going to just get you killed. And at their worst, I mean, they're terrible and they get overwhelmed. But I think having a guy like Dalvin Cook, who almost always makes the first guy miss in some way, shape, or form, that is such a huge advantage for an offensive line like this, because they are going to let tacklers through. They are going to let guys get free shots at either Cousins or Cook, and it's up to those guys to be able to elude at least one and then get up the field. Cousins obviously doesn't do that. That's not his game. But Cook very much does that. And he either jukes or runs through or around the first would-be tackler and is always getting positive yardage after that. And that's what they really needed in this game. They needed someone who could go out and beat maybe one or two defenders on his own to give his offensive line a chance to set up some other blocks down the field and get rolling. And so, in this modern era, you think pass first, you think quarterbacks leading the way, but it's no question to me that Dalvin Cook is the MVP of this offense, and that was absolutely underscored against Green Bay. How different would the game plan have been with him in there? I'm not sure, because they looked so inept, so unable to do anything. But I just do think that having him in there, his elusiveness, his game-breaking ability, even if you just dump it off into the flats with him, which Cousins likes to do, he can really kind of get upfield and get a first down or two to extend drives, give that defense a chance to take a rest and get the field position going in the Vikings direction. And they couldn't do any of that on Monday night. And, Mike Boone is a solid player, but he certainly is not Dalvin Cook, and he's not Alexander Mattison, and they were missing both of those guys.
And I really think also they might have stuck with the run more had they had Cook back there. And that first series, again, maybe they run it 3 times, because Cook has been so good, especially running behind Ham on short yardage situations. There are a lot of times he scores untouched or standing up. That might change everything as well. The interesting thing here is Cook is simultaneously showing just how vital he is to this offense, and also showing why it's so risky to invest heavily in a running back, because not only is he out right now, but really he hasn't been the same since about week 10, since he started getting beaten up. His numbers just took a nosedive.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that is going to be the very difficult decision that the Vikings have to make this offseason, because there is no question, Jim, that having Dalvin Cook in the backfield makes them a different offense and a more dynamic one. But he does get hurt. That is a problem. And I think that when you look at the game on Monday night, you can say that is example A of why you have to pay Dalvin Cook a bunch of money and make sure that he stays here, because he is that important to what they do. But if you're going to pay him that amount of money, you have to make sure that he can be on the field for more than 10 games in a season. I mean, that's just the unfortunate reality of that. And so far, he has not been able to show that. And so I do believe that he's going to go into this summer or into this winter and spring after the season is over, expecting a major payday. I mean, you've seen a couple of guys like Le'Veon Bell, like Ezekiel Elliott, a few others who still do get the big contracts. Todd Gurley's another one who got a big contract that isn't working out